Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Elitist 300 subscriber special. Now, you saw the 100 subscriber Q&A, the 200 subscriber Q&A. Look, I didn't want to get just repetitive and do a 300 and a 400 and 500 sub Q&A, so I thought I'd go outside the box. I'd do a special video for you guys. This is something that it's very appropriate given the time we're in with this pandemic. It's something that it'd be, a big talking point. I'm sure a lot of you guys would be fascinated to hear what I have to say about this. Okay, this is some of my best work. Not from an editing and video creation standpoint, because this is probably just be more of a podcast. Because I'm not going to do a Polana Productions and what he did. Where, if you haven't seen the Polana Productions one, he did What If Polana Productions Took Over WWE in 2020. It's like this hour and 10 minute long, fully edited video with videos and pictures, and everything's so good, and that must have taken like a month to do. This is purely going to be more a podcast. It's going to be a special edition of The Elitist effect, okay? This is what would happen if The Elitist took over the WWE. If The Elitist was in charge and I was running the ship, this is what I would do to get this company back on track. This is what I do to revive interest in Raw, SmackDown, the company as a whole. Okay, if they booked these shows, we wouldn't be having these issues we have at the moment with lowest rated Raw every week, SmackDown hitting its lowest ratings ever on Fox, interest at an all-time low, the pro wrestling community being pretty much dead in the YWC and the IWC. Okay, if the WWE was ran by me and they did what I'm about to run you through, there's no telling where they could go. Okay, so just a couple of things I need to get off the cover and get off the bat here. For starters, this is assuming that this pandemic situation where there's no crowds and, obviously no people are allowed in the shows, I'm going to assume for this video that lasts until, let's say, September. I'm saying a ballpark figure of September, late August, September, okay? So what I'm going to be doing is, I'll get through it, but basically, without further ado, I'm going to get into this because this is going to be a long video, lots of detail, lots of stuff that you guys are going to be very interested to hear, okay? Some of the stuff you're going to hear me go through today, you're going to hear and think, why isn't this company doing this? Okay? Now, also, one other thing I've got to preference, once again with the Polana Productions video, I watched the first 15 minutes of his video. I did not watch the whole thing, okay? I watched right up to when he started doing the draft of where he put the wrestlers. I didn't see any storylines, so I haven't taken any of his ideas. This is all of my stuff, okay? I have nicked a few of his ideas as far as the business kind of stuff, but anyway, without further ado, what the Elitists would do to save, quote-unquote, save WWE in 2020 if I was in charge. So, we're assuming, as I said, that the pandemic lasts until late August, and I'm going to say after SummerSlam. So, with that being said, Money in the Bank 2020 is the final regulation Vince McMahon WWE pay-per-view before my takeover begins. Okay, let them do Money in the Bank. Okay, so we do Money in the Bank. I'm assuming for this scenario that Drew McIntyre beats Seth Rollins to retain the WWE Championship. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, beats Braun Strowman to win back the Universal Championship that he never should have lost. Aleister Black wins the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Okay, Black wins the match. Not Baron Corbin, not whoever else is in it. Aleister Black wins Money in the Bank alongside Sasha Banks winning the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and then Bayley retaining the SmackDown Women's title, as well as the Street Profits and the New Day leaving Money in the Bank as tag team champions of their respective brands. Okay? We've got that understood. Most of that is pretty self-explanatory. Drew McIntyre, The Fiend, Aleister Black, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Street Profits, and New Day, they're all standing tall at the end of the show, or during the show, whatever. So, then the off-season takes into effect. Now, this is something that the company badly needs. Okay? This week in, week out of fresh new content, it can't go on. Okay? We're currently now at the very end of April as they're making this video. This off-season would take effect basically through May, June, July, and a bunch of August. Okay? So that's a bit over 3 months, which is going to be a big hit for the wrestling community and the wrestling fan base. But in the meantime, we'll get Raw and SmackDown recalls every Monday and every Friday night. So, this would feature pretty much every WWE superstar employed, commentating over Raw and SmackDown shows. Now, what I mean by that, for example, they'd play back Raw 1000 or Raw's 25th anniversary show or SmackDown 1000 or a Raw from the Attitude Era or Raw from 1993 or a SmackDown from 2001, a SmackDown 2005. I really get plenty of variety in these kind of recalls. Obviously, the ratings might take a pretty big hit momentarily, but as the saying goes in business, it's a short-term pain for long-term gain. This is something you have to do because you can't take these changes I've got into effect if you're just going to keep running these shows week after week. It's not going to work, okay? There's going to be no feeling of freshness and feeling of a shake-up when it's the same thing week after week. So you've got to see through this pandemic. I don't care how long, like, if this takes literally till, June, July, August, you've got to see off the pandemic, okay? So I'm going to assume, as I said, crowds come back late August, September. So meanwhile, we get Raw recall, SmackDown recall. We get, like, for example, if there's an old SmackDown show being played, we see Kurt Angle versus John Cena, like the one from 2002 where Cena made his debut. We see Cena and Angle in the same room commentating over that match. That'd be something cool. And then there could be a segment where Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury are having a match against, the Basham brothers. So we get Joey Mercury and Jamie Noble commentating over that kind of stuff. We really get kind of intricacies and we get inside the mind of the performers and all this kind of stuff. Give it another dimension to these shows because just running back old Raws and SmackDowns, that's not going to do it. You need like a recall element. You need something fresh, something new, so that people watching it on a week-to-week basis can have something, not just an old show. There needs to be another element to it. So that's what we get for a few months. Then, during then, we get June 15th, okay? This, instead of Monday Night Raw, okay, we get the Slammy Awards, quote unquote. So basically, this show, it would draw a pretty good rating because what this would be, I guess you'd have to do this. You wouldn't be able to do everyone in one big room because of social distancing and whatnot. You'd basically have it be like kind of a Skype call, but that kind of thing, whatever. Point of the Slammy Awards, Triple H opens the show, okay? Triple H opens. He says that the WWE is never going to be the same. He says that the company will shift and changes will be made. So Triple H is promising changes. He's promising things will be different. I'm sure you'll have, if this happens in real life, people like me, people like JD from NY, people like BC Amplified, a bunch of you YouTubers, it'd just be all criticism. It would be, we've heard this so many times, nothing's going to change. It's the same empty promises over and over. No. Not in the elitist WWE, okay? What Triple H says here, that the company's never going to be the same, that actually stands true. So, from here, over the next few weeks, we gradually find out more about the new landscape of WWE that's coming, okay? Really building up hype and investment for this return, okay? The return date, the date that WWE is going to really, click into another gear, hit refresh, is SummerSlam. SummerSlam 2020 is the restart, okay? All roads shift to SummerSlam, okay? We're doing all these recall shows, Raw recall, SmackDown recall, getting hype videos and hype packages during these Raw and SmackDowns, all on the road to SummerSlam. SummerSlam is the big kind of the restart, the fresh recall date, okay? SummerSlam, all roads point to it. So we find out from Triple H through each Raw episode, we get dropped these little hints and news updates, like one a week. We find out something new each Raw, each SmackDown to try to build us up. So we find out that there will be a new general manager of both Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. So we find that out. We find out that the women's division will compete on one brand and the tag teams will compete on another. I've nicked that from Polana Productions, but anyway, when we find out that, as I said, SummerSlam will be the host of the WWE Rebirth Draft, or the Restart Draft. Additionally, we find out the SmackDown will get the fist back. I nicked that from Polana Productions as well. We find out the SmackDown will be called SmackDown Live again. Not just SmackDown on Fox, SmackDown Live. And those are the main things we find out. So, from here, about a month before SummerSlam, we find out that Paul Heyman will be the general manager of Monday Night Raw. I do this because Heyman, he's the executive producer. Everyone knows that. So it only makes logical sense to have Paul Heyman be the general manager of Raw. Additionally, Eric Bischoff will be the general manager of SmackDown Live. This one, he was supposed to be the executive producer last year. Nothing came of that. This time, I feel like having him be the GM, it would be something cool. Having the Heyman-Bischoff, element, Heyman versus Bischoff, harkens back to Ruthless Aggression era, harkens back to 02 through, 04, when those two were competing on separate shows. Obviously, back then it was Bischoff on Raw, Heyman on SmackDown. I'd switch the roles, so it's not just a direct kind of copy. Also, because, as I said, it makes more sense having Heyman on Raw. So, those are your general managers. Heyman Raw, Bischoff SmackDown Live. So, from here, as I said, SummerSlam 2020 would be like no other. Okay, SummerSlam is the big reset. The amount of hype and buzz this SummerSlam would generate would be through the roof. After months of these recall shows and Triple H dropping hints and us finding out news, everyone's just grasping at the seams for this SummerSlam. People are desperate to watch SummerSlam, okay? It's the most anticipated SummerSlam in years. So, we get to SummerSlam 2020. What does this show entail, Elitist? What are you doing at this SummerSlam? How's this special? You might be thinking to yourself, but if there's no TV, no storylines, how's this going to be a good show? Okay, listen up. This show would feature 3 matches, okay? 3 matches only. 2 of which are championship unification matches, 1 of which is a special exhibition match. Okay, as I said, both of the 2 matches would unify championship unification, whatever, and then we get 1 exhibition match. Additionally, we would have the World Championship decision, okay, and we'd have the WWE draft throughout SummerSlam. So, SummerSlam's jam-packed. You've got the draft to find out where everyone's going. You've got the World Championship decision, which everyone would be intrigued by. You've got, additionally, the 2 Unification Championship matches. So, there's only going to be 1 Women's Champion, 1 Tag Team Champion, and you're getting a special exhibition match. So, the buzz and the hype around SummerSlam would be big. Hopefully, crowds will be back by then, so we get this in a kind of some fans in attendance, but if not, it doesn't really matter. So, we get to SummerSlam, okay? This show takes place in, like, the NBA draft style of setup. I nicked this from Planet Productions as well, but mine's a little bit different. This, similar to the NBA draft, okay, you'd have the stage, you'd have a podium up the top with a microphone, so that each general manager could come out and make their draft picks. We could have Triple H at the start, open the show a little bit, and yeah. So we have a ring set up as well. There'd be like a little aisleway, and then there'd be a ring. You'd have all the wrestlers, like everyone on the show. You'd have the women wearing dresses and whatnot, except for Nia Jax. You'd have, I couldn't help myself there, sorry. You have, the women wearing dresses. You have the wrestlers, the superstars wearing suits. Okay, everyone would look all professional, all scrubbed up. Everyone would look really professional for this big restart draft. So, we get the big draft, okay? And this SummerSlam 2020, the draft, the restart, here we go, okay? At this stage, once again, I'm assuming there's no fans. So, the wrestlers, they'll be in suits, like NBA draft. And I'll get into the bulk of the picks later, okay? I'm not doing the draft picks now, but all you need to know is that Drew McIntyre is drafted by Raw, Bray Wyatt's drafted back by SmackDown Live, Aleister Black is drafted over to SmackDown, and Zelina Vega is drafted over to SmackDown as well, and none of the tag teams or women's wrestlers have been drafted, okay? So just to recap, McIntyre to Raw, Wyatt, Aleister Black, and Zelina Vega to SmackDown, and that's that. So, our first match of the night, Tag Team Championship Unification match, the Street Profits, the Raw Tag Champs versus the New Day, the SmackDown Tag Champs. Give these guys 20 minutes, have it be a really good, fun match. In the end, Street Profits beat the New Day to become the WWE Unified Tag Team Champions, okay? From here, we get the Division Decision. Now, this one is, does the Women's Division go to Raw or SmackDown? Does the Tag Team Division go to Raw or SmackDown? Okay, we get this segment with Bischoff and Heyman. They're really getting into each other. Both, one really wants this, the other one really wants that as well. They're both arguing. In the end, it gets decided that the tag team division winds up on Monday Night Raw, okay? Raw gets all the tag teams, and the women's division goes directly to SmackDown. So, tag teams, Raw, women's, SmackDown. Then, from there, we get our exhibition match, Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar, okay? This one, it's a match that a lot of people have been looking forward to. I think this is the perfect spot for it. It's an exhibition match, okay? It's a fantasy match. Lashley, Lesnar. This one, this could piss some people off, but at the same time, it helps for storylines later on, so go with it. This one, I do Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar with Bobby Lashley beating Brock Lesnar, okay? You might be thinking to yourself, this guy's a clown. He's leaving his hate comments, all the cretins down below. If Lashley beat Lesnar, good one. Okay. I'd have Lashley beat Lesnar, and, more on that later. So, from here we get the Women's Championship Unification match. Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion, who, by this point, would be like 500 and something days into her reign, taking on Bayley, the SmackDown Women's Champion. Becky Lynch would defeat Bayley, so Becky Lynch becomes the Unified Women's Champion. But, you guys are going to love this, but, as soon as Becky Lynch has done this hard-fought match with Bayley, like 15 to 17 minutes, this hard-fought match, we hear Sasha Banks' old music, not the new one that sounds terrible, but we hear You know, the old, it's boss time, not it's boss, I sound Michael Cole, the old Sky's the Limit song, the old one that actually people liked. So Sasha Banks rushes down with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Sasha Banks hits Becky with it, cashes it in. Sasha Banks hits a finisher, pins Becky Lynch, 1, 2, 3, clean in the middle of the ring. Sasha Banks becomes the new WWE Unified Undisputed Women's Champion, okay? So, Becky's dethroned, Sasha Banks is the Women's Champion. From here, we do, obviously throughout the night, there'd be lots of drafting going on between these things to break it up. Then, the main event segment, the championship decision, okay? This, here we go, you guys are going to love this. So pretty much, here we go. This is my creativity really coming to the forefront. This is a segment which I would book as a creative visionary. This is something I think a lot of you guys would really like, and this is something that'll get you guys talking already. So, I'd have Triple H is standing in a suit behind a table. Now, this is going to be live. It won't be in the arena because this wouldn't work. It just wouldn't make sense with all the wrestlers there to shoot this angle. This would be in a separate, like a room, a dark room. So pretty much Triple H is standing in a suit behind a table that has a new look WWE Championship belt. This, you can picture in your mind just a really sexy looking new title belt, not the red W. Those championships need to go. In the Elitist's world, the current championships are all changed. Except the Intercontinental title and the US title, all the title belts get an overhaul. But anyway, Triple H is standing behind a table with a WWE Championship belt. Then, that's on his left. On his right is the Big Gold World Heavyweight Championship belt, okay? Big Gold is back. The World Heavyweight Championship that Triple H made famous is back. Scrap the Universal Shortcake Strawberry title. Get rid of that. No one needs to see the Universal title. That title's been a waste, okay? Bin the Universal title. The Big Gold belt is back. So, pretty much, this, Triple H is standing in a room. It's like it's one of those boxing face-to-faces, okay? Triple H has the WWE Championship on one side, the World Heavyweight Championship on another. Drew McIntyre makes his entrance. Paul Heyman comes in. Bray Wyatt makes his entrance as Mr. Rogers. Eric Bischoff comes in. So you've got McIntyre and Wyatt as if it's like a face-to-face. You've got Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff next to them, the general managers, okay? Because this is crucial for their shows. Bischoff, Heyman, this is their livelihoods coming in. This is their show. For Heyman, he wants to know which title he gets firsthand. Same with Bischoff. So they're sitting at the table. Pretty much right away, Drew McIntyre addresses that he doesn't trust his own general manager, Paul Heyman, because Paul Heyman has Brock Lesnar's best interests at hand, and McIntyre beat Lesnar at Mania, so McIntyre's already clearing the air and addressing the elephant in the room that Paul Heyman isn't to be trusted. So McIntyre addresses that. Then Eric Bischoff is adamant that he wants the Big Gold belt on his brand on SmackDown Live, because Eric Bischoff back in 2002 introduced the Big Gold belt, so it only makes sense in Bischoff's mind that he wants it back. Triple H then says that this will be just like when he got the Big Gold belt in 2002. Okay, the Big Gold belt is going to Raw. So Triple H deems that the Big Gold belt, the World Heavyweight Championship, is going to Monday Night Raw. So Drew McIntyre is the World Heavyweight Champion. He's the face of Monday Night Raw, the World Heavyweight Champion. Okay, from here, Triple H, he's, looking all aggro at Eric Bischoff. He's really spite at Eric Bischoff. So then Triple H awards Bray Wyatt with the WWE Championship belt. Okay, from here, this is where it gets good. So that bit, you might have thought, it doesn't really make much sense. It's not that exciting. McIntyre's the World Heavyweight Champion. Who really cares? From here, this is where it gets really, really good. Okay, The Fiend, his effects hit, where the lights cut out and you hear the sound effects. From here, Triple H, Paul Heyman, and Drew McIntyre, they're all confused. They're all like, what's happening? Bray, he's then sitting there holding his Mr. Rogers, or as Mr. Rogers, holding his WWE Championship belt. Paul Heyman is freaking out. Paul Heyman he jumps up from his chair. He's literally, he's all scared. He's terrified of The Fiend. Paul Heyman wants no part of this. So Paul Heyman rushes to a door. Okay. Paul Heyman's literally sobbing. He's really over dramatizing the situation. He's fearing for his life. He doesn't have Brock there to help him. Paul Heyman is so afraid. Paul Heyman proceeds to rush over to this door. Okay. He's so scared. He opens the door and it's a man. He's wearing one of the kind of giant Undertaker-like outfits that, Undertaker wears. He's wearing, one of these outfits. You can't see who it is. You can't see his face. But it's this, really, daunting-looking figure. He's wearing the Undertaker outfit. Heyman, he's, sobbing. He, goes down, he goes to his knees. He's, praying to this guy. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. You can picture Paul Heyman doing this. He's, crying. The room is pretty much dark. but you can just see this intimidating figure in this like Undertaker gear. From here, boom, Black Mass. Aleister Black steps out of the darkness wearing one of those aforementioned like Undertaker outfits. Actually, then again, it's the same thing Aleister Black usually wears. Just Aleister Black wearing that kind of usual gear he wears in his entrance, only it's like even more dramatic and even more like sick looking. So Aleister Black steps out of the shadows. Just that kind of symbolism is really cool. From here, Aleister Black, he's walking sinisterly and deliberately. Triple H and Eric Bischoff are looking like really, really uncertain. They're looking really shaken. Then the camera cuts to a silhouette on a curtain. Okay, there's this silhouette, and it's a female figure. So Triple H, we see Triple H look at it, he's all confused. Triple H is all his forehead wrinkles, and he's all like squinting. He's like, oh my god, what's happening? From here, we get boom, Black Master Triple H. Triple H goes down, he goes down like a plane. From here, we get literally Bray Wyatt in the Fiend attire. So Bray Wyatt's gone from Mr. Rogers to the Fiend somehow. I don't know how this has happened, but we get literally the camera cutting to Bray Wyatt. He's now the Fiend. Okay, Bray Wyatt grabs Eric Bischoff, Sister Abigail to Eric Bischoff. So from here we get Triple H, Paul Heyman, and Eric Bischoff all laid out on the ground. The camera cuts, and we see Zelina Vega wearing some sinister kind of Aleister Black-like outfit. One of those Aleister Black kind of dark-colored, like, not headpieces, but like overall attires. You guys kind of know what I mean, okay? It's some some sick-looking, just outfit. So Zelina Vega comes over, sinisterly. She's carrying this custom Money in the Bank briefcase, specially made for Aleister Black. This just sick custom Money in the Bank briefcase. So from here, we have SummerSlam 2020 going off the air with this group shot of Aleister Black sinisterly standing with his hands together, as if he's like not doing prayer, but like his hands are together. And then Zelina Vega is holding the briefcase, wearing her attire. And then the Fiend is doing his like Fiend pose. So we end SummerSlam with that sick visual. The Fiend and Aleister Black are together. Zelina Vega's with them. So Zelina Vega and her real-life husband are now together. So everyone's talking about WWE. What the hell was that ending? Drew McIntyre's the World Heavyweight Champion. What's going to happen on SmackDown? What is this Bray Wyatt, Aleister Black, Zelina Vega? What's happening here? What's going to happen in the women's division? Sasha Banks is the champion. What's happening with the tag team division? So there's so many questions. Everyone wants to know. So before I get into that, I need to address a few matters. This is a few business-related points I've got to get through. So the pay-per-view model. What would I do for the pay-per-view model? As if I'm running the company, here's what I do for pay-per-views. In January, the Royal Rumble stays, okay? From there are no more pay-per-views until WrestleMania, okay? It's Royal Rumble, and then two months of build to WrestleMania. No Saudi showdown in between, no Elimination Chamber, purely build to WrestleMania. So we get WrestleMania. Then, in late May, mid to late May, we get Judgment Day. This would be a Raw exclusive pay-per-view, okay? Then, in June, we get the Great American Bash. This would be SmackDown exclusive. From here, we get August SummerSlam. So, basically, between WrestleMania and SummerSlam, each brand has one exclusive pay-per-view, but that's it. I'm not having like 4 pay-per-views and guys from each roster compete on it. No. Okay, one pay-per-view each brand. In November, I'd have Survivor Series. Then, you guys will love this, okay? In Christmas, what am I saying? Okay, at the very end of the year, I do something very similar to what SmackDown Live did in 2016. Remember the SmackDown Super Show? Okay, what I'd do is I would have both Raw and SmackDown produce pay-per-view tier shows the week of Christmas. Okay, I'm sick and tired of watching garbage, god-awful Christmas episodes every year in Christmas week, okay? Put some effort in and actually do a meaningful show. So Monday Night Raw would produce a pay-per-view quality show, and SmackDown Live would produce a pay-per-view quality show. Just a stacked card that's must-see. So both would draw great ratings Christmas week. None of this, oh, well, it's the Christmas show, Miracle on 34th Street Fight, where Elias throws a bowling ball into Leo Rush's nuts, okay? None of that. We're doing a legitimate, like, pay-per-view quality show Christmas week for both Raw and SmackDown. Give the fans a Christmas present, so to speak. So, that's the pay-per-view model. Also, this is another matter of business. Wins and losses actually matter. Who'd have thought? What a strange world. Wins and losses matter. Yeah, okay? This is a thing in AEW. Not to sound too much like an elitist, so to speak, but literally, wins and losses do matter, okay? So there are official rankings for each championship picture and their contenders each week, basically what AEW do, but obviously it'll be different because it's WWE wrestlers. So there's a championship rankings, there's a contendership, there's actually meaning to it. Additionally, overexposure of wrestlers will not be an issue on these two shows, on Raw and SmackDown Live, okay? Wrestlers will rarely compete in matches on back-to-back weeks. The marquee talents in each division will feature in either a video package or a promo segment every second week. They won't be competing every single week, just burning out the fans or themselves. So that's what we'll get there. Additionally, there'll be a focus on more edgy and realistic storylines because that's what this company needs badly, okay? And also, I'm going to make a few releases as well. I am releasing Nia Jax, Lars Sullivan, Tamina, Dana Brooke, and Mickie James. Mickie, she's like a producer. She doesn't wrestle anyway, so it's harmless. And the other four are just god-awful. So those are the releases. That's the pay-per-view model. Wins and losses matter. Overexposure won't be a problem, and edgy storylines will be in place. So that's a few matters of business before I get into the rest of this. So I'm going to begin with Monday Night Raw. How would the Elitist save Monday Night Raw? Okay, here's what I do. Now, right away, the elephant in the room, the 3-hour Raw. Okay, it's a massive problem. And to fix this problem, once again, I'm going to credit Polana Productions for this. I'm doing a 2-hour, the first 2 hours of Raw is the Raw show itself. And the third hour from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. on the East Coast, that hour is Raw talk. Okay, that is a Raw post-show, so to speak. It's to keep some viewers around because given the time slot, given this following Raw's second hour and the conclusive hour, they'll still pop a pretty good rating in the third hour, so it's not going to be too big an issue. So I'm doing 2 hours of regular Raw, 1 hour of Raw talk afterwards. So the World Championship on this show is the Big Gold Belt World Heavyweight Championship, held by Drew McIntyre. The secondary championship is the United States Championship, held by Andrade initially. The tag team division, Raw's division, the tag team titles, the unified ones, are held by the Street Profits, and the general manager, once again, is Paul Heyman. So, what's the commentary team? Who's going to be our voices for Monday Night Raw? Well, the voices for Raw is going to be Mauro Ranallo, whatever. Ranallo, he's going to be the lead play-by-play commentator, okay? We need a great voice to lead Monday Night Raw. I know he's great on NXT, but it's about time. Just stuff NXT, who cares? This is about saving Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, okay? So Mauro Ranallo is the lead play-by-play guy. Additionally, who's his co-commentator? Who's his color guy? His color commentator is Samoa Joe, okay? Can you imagine that announce team? Mauro Ranallo and Samoa Joe. Forget Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, and Jerry Lawler. Forget Michael Cole and Corey Graves. It's just Mauro Ranallo and Samoa Joe. Do you know how legit and credible that announce team is going to be? Right away, the feel of the show, what you're hearing is so much different. You're not feeling just annoyed watching the show. You're going to be interested just by hearing what Mauro and Samoa Joe have to say. So that's the announce team. Additionally, throughout the show, what I'd be doing, I have current superstars joining commentary like every couple of segments. It wouldn't just be, once in a blue moon, we're having a wrestler join the commentators. I'd have someone who's pertinent to the storyline join commentary like every couple of, literally every segment just about, okay? Help progress the storylines. I know Mauro and Joe are going to do a great job of telling the stories, but getting that talent who's involved in the storyline, it's going to do so much to add to it, because having Mauro and Joe, adding stuff to the storyline with the talent adding stuff, is going to be great. So that's commentary, Mauro and Samoa Joe. The roster itself, okay, this is what would have been announced at SummerSlam during the draft. So this is in no particular order, but basically Monday Night Raw, their World Championship picture, their main event picture, okay, listen to this. Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, Cesaro, Randy Orton, Keith Lee, and kind of Baron Corbin. That's the main event picture, the World Championship picture on Raw. If you'll notice there, none of those guys are indie midgets, which I know a bunch of you hate. I know a bunch of you hate indie midgets, okay? All of those guys are legit. All of them are credible. All of them are interesting, okay? Corbin's not, but he's not exactly the main event, okay? So, obviously, Drew McIntyre is the World Heavyweight Champion. What I do for feuds and storylines with this main event picture, Drew McIntyre, he'd be in his World Championship reign. It would begin with a heated personal feud against Randy Orton, okay? Drew McIntyre vs. Randy Orton for the World's Heavyweight Championship. That is how I begin the first few months of this new Monday Night Raw. Now, I'm not going to go through the week by week of this storyline. If you want to see that, go and watch my How WWE Should Book Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship Reign Part 1 video. That's about 6 weeks old now, but I was really happy with that. Some of you guys have seen it. It's got not many views. I privated the video. It's now public again, so you guys can see what I do there. Drew McIntyre vs. Randy Orton is the World Heavyweight Championship storyline on Raw. Okay, this would be very must see. The storyline basically is that kind of Randy Orton really gets personal with Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre has his like kind of coronation ceremony. Randy Orton like attacks Drew McIntyre's family. Takes out targets his wife. McIntyre takes out Jinder Mahal. He just takes out he would have taken out Heath Slater. Heath Slater got released, so takes out Jinder Mahal. And just Randy Orton's doing a madness. Then Drew McIntyre eventually just gets to Randy Orton. It's this heated personal feud. We have one Raw main event. Okay, in the main event of one episode of Raw, Drew McIntyre vs. Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight Championship. Okay, picture that. In the main event of Raw, Drew McIntyre vs. Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight Championship. And you're going to tell me that Raw won't get good ratings when you're having Drew McIntyre vs. Randy Orton in a hated personal feud in a Raw main event for the title. Okay, this is why you don't have these gimmick garbage pay-per-views every month for stuff like this. So that's the World Heavyweight Championship match. Additionally, Brock Lesnar would be having a feud with Bobby Lashley because Lashley beat Lesnar at SummerSlam, so this would continue. Lesnar would be pissed. He'd be trying to kill Bobby Lashley. Legitimately, Brock Lesnar would be just livid at Bobby Lashley. After what happened at SummerSlam, Lashley got a lucky win. Lesnar, he would be running roughshod through Raw, destroying people, similar to after WrestleMania 31, when Lesnar got cashed in on by Rollins. So when Lesnar showed up to Raw the next night and wreaked havoc, it'd be the same thing here, okay? Heyman would have to calm down Brock Lesnar, and we get Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley in a Raw main event on another episode, okay? So you're already seeing this trend I'm doing here. Raw main events that are must-see on a 2-hour show. Because can you imagine Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley in a Raw main event? Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton in a Raw main event for the World Heavyweight Championship? Stuff like this. Your ratings aren't going to be 1.4, 1.5, 1.6 million viewers when you're having these main events. Okay, this is what you can do when you don't have the meaningless pay-per-views once a month. So, we'd have Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley in a Raw main event. Meanwhile, Cesaro, okay? This one is something I'm really happy about that I can do in this Elitist Takes Over WWE video, okay? Cesaro would be pushed big time, okay? He would show up to Raw, the first Raw show, so the night after SummerSlam. Cesaro shows up to Raw, and he's just frustrated, okay? He confronts Paul Heyman. He says that he hasn't forgotten about what happened in 2014 when Heyman was his manager and all he talked about was the streak, and then he unceremoniously just gave up on him and ditched him for Brock Lesnar, okay? Cesaro makes a point that he's a man on a mission. He's going to conquer Brock Lesnar to avenge what happened. So Cesaro, he gets a few wins on TV. He beats a couple of guys in the next Raw shows, so he gets a couple of wins on the board. Then we build towards Cesaro versus Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series, okay? Cesaro versus Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series. The match makes itself, okay? Brock Lesnar is representing Paul Heyman in this situation. Cesaro, he's just the babyface looking to get the win, okay? I'd have Cesaro go over Brock at Survivor Series. Cesaro is all of a sudden a made star from that, okay? Cesaro's record, it just skyrockets. That's what I do with Cesaro. Brock, he's putting over some guys. He's getting the main event and staying incredible, so that's what I do there. Then, there's the Keith Lee stuff, okay? Keith Lee is one of the big draft picks on Raw. No fun intended. So, Keith Lee, his first feud on Raw is nothing incredible, okay? His first feud is against Baron Corbin, okay? Baron Corbin, this whole feud, it goes on for maybe a month, 6 weeks, maybe 2 months if you want to drag it out that long, okay? Corbin gets really personal with Keith Lee, calling out Keith Lee's failed independent career, saying that Keith Lee's, 40? It took him this long to make it in the WWE, okay? Corbin, he's been successful all his life. Former football player in the NFL, former, Golden Gloves boxing champion or whatever, okay? Corbin, he's won this, won that. Corbin's had a great career. And what's Keith Lee done? Keith Lee, he's had a cup of coffee in the WWE, and he thinks he's the next big thing. So Baron Corbin, Keith Lee, they have a storyline. Those are the main storylines on Raw in the main event, okay? So if you can already see, I'm trying to build a big main event picture. Guys who are legit, credible. Guys who, if you turn on the show, you're not going to be embarrassed by watching. Guys who you all think are legit and can beat you up, who can put on pretty good matches. Outside of Lashley, and outside of, that's about it. Because you can do Cesaro versus Drew McIntyre down the line. You can do Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre in a rematch. You can do Bobby Lashley versus Cesaro. There's so many matches you can do. Keith Lee, Brock Lesnar. You can do Keith Lee, Drew McIntyre. Like, it's just such an open-ended World Championship picture. So, Drew McIntyre's World Heavyweight Championship, as World Heavyweight Champion, his reign, plenty of contenders after Randy Orton. So, that's the main event picture on Raw. Moving on to the secondary picture, the secondary championship, the next title. This is the United States Championship. These guys who will be on Raw, I would have Andrade, Angel Garza, Cedric Alexander, Kevin Owens, Austin Theory, Drew Gulak, Jeff Hardy, The Miz, John Morrison, Mustafa Ali, and Robert Roode. Okay, that would be my mid-card secondary title picture on Raw. Okay, so for feuds and storylines, what I'd do, I'd have Andrade. He'd be the United States Champion at this stage still. Okay, so by this point, Andrade's held the US title for like 9 months. Paul Heyman would confront Andrade on the first Raw show. He'd say that, look, Andrade, you've defended your title for like 5 times since December. Okay, this isn't good enough. Therefore, Paul Heyman says that Andrade will defend his United States Championship on the first Raw of this new era against Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens defeated Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, and he hasn't been on TV since, because Owens at the moment is just not on TV. So we're going to have Kevin Owens versus Andrade for the US title. Kevin Owens deserves something for beating Rollins at WrestleMania in that big match in WrestleMania. So Kevin Owens versus Andrade. Owens, he ends up winning the United States Championship from Andrade after Angel Garza hits a big boot on Andrade instead of Owens. Okay, after the match, Andrade and Austin Theory destroy Angel Garza. Okay, so Angel Garza becomes a babyface. He becomes a fan favorite. Andrade and Austin Theory are the heels. So we get a visual after this beatdown of Angel Garza doing his like cheeky smile. Okay, so we know Angel Garza, he's down for the competition. Angel Garza, it will happily take on Andrade and Austin Theory. So that's what we get. That's what we get there. From here, I do a Miz and Morrison storyline. Pretty self-explanatory. Okay, they can do the breakup of their tag team. The Miz and John Morrison. Plenty of history there. Plenty of stuff to draw upon. Make it nice and personal, nice and easy to invest in. Bring up all their history. Bring up how John Morrison left the company and the Miz has been there all along. Bring up when they were a tag team in the late 2000s. Now they're a tag team recently. Bring up that John Morrison retained the titles and the Miz lost the titles. Have John Morrison be a bitter heel, or you can have the Miz be a heel. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. So that's what I do there. From here, we'd have Kevin Owens as the US champion. He wouldn't defend his title for a little while as matches are taking place to establish new contenders. We have Robert Roode win a bunch of his matches, so Robert Roode becomes a number one contender. Robert Roode, he's a very arrogant heel, okay? Robert Roode wears suits. He's the heel he was in NXT, okay? He's not just the guy who wears a robe and says glorious. He's a legitimate heel wearing a suit, okay? So we get Roode versus Owens for the US title. They have some really good matches. We get a Raw main event of Roode versus Kevin Owens for the United States Championship. This is about November sometime, so really just building this storyline. As for the other guys in the mid-card kind of picture, Drew Gulak, Jeff Hardy, Mustafa Ali, Cedric Alexander, these guys, not that they're enhancement talents, they're not, but they get their win here and there. They're kind of just there for the moment. Maybe if I do a part 2, I'll elaborate on them, but for the most part, I guess Cedric Alexander and Ali, they can get some good wins on the board. Jeff Hardy can put over some new talent, that kind of stuff, but really, the main point of this, Kevin Owens wins the US title, Angel Garza becomes a babyface, Andrade stays a dominant heel, feuding with Angel Garza, so we get Angel Garza versus Andrade in the mid-card, Miz versus Morrison in the mid-card, so a bunch of good stuff in the Raw mid-card. Then, we get the tag team picture, okay? The tag teams on Raw, or just the tag teams in general. The Authors of Pain, Akam and Razor, the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, who are the tag team champions, the War Raiders, okay, they're not the Viking Raiders, they're the War Raiders, Eric and Ivar. We've got the New Day, so Big E, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods. Much more on them later. We've got the Forgotten Sons, okay, Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake, okay. We're not involving Jackson Riker in this, just Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake, so they're involved there. Additionally, the Usos, Jimmy and Jay, and Heavy Machinery, Otis and Tucker. So those are our tag teams. That's what we've got there. Pretty much, this one, as far as my tag team division, I haven't really booked a bunch of storylines for this. I've just got one main thing, okay? The self-destruction of the New Day. I'd do this as if I was in charge. The New Day self-destruct. So, Xavier Woods, he returns from his Achilles, which this is one benefit of postponing the shows. all the guys can get healthy and we can get a full maximized roster. No injuries, no nothing. It's a full roster for WWE to come into this Raw and SmackDown after SummerSlam period, fresh, ready to go. So Xavier Woods, he's back from his Achilles. The New Day, obviously they lose to the Street Profits at SummerSlam. They proceed to go on a losing streak. They just do, okay? The New Day lose match after match after match. They lose like 5 to 6 straight matches. We're like mid-October, they're still losing. Finally, they lose a match to like the Forgotten Sons or someone, okay? They lose a match. They're last place in the rankings. They're like 0-6, 0-7. Eventually, after the match, they just implode. They're all arguing at each other. Big E turns his back. Xavier Woods and Kofi then nod at one another. Woods then nutshots Big E. Kofi then hits him with a Trouble in Paradise. So Big E's laid out. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods stand tall over Big E. They storm off together. So we get Kofi and or Xavier Woods versus Big E for the next like month or two. The self-destruction of the New Day. Then do a bunch of sick promos about all the time they spent together. They can show recaps, like Kofi and Xavier Woods show recaps of what they used to be. And they can say that Big E caused the end of the New Day. Okay, Big E won the tag titles for the New Day on SmackDown way back in April, they can say. And Big E ever since has been so selfish, so self-centered. He's thought that he owns the New Day, that he's the one who keeps his team functioning. But at the end of the day, without Kofi and Xavier Woods, Big E would be nothing. Okay, so we get Kofi versus Big E, Xavier Woods versus Big E, maybe a handicap match. We get a bunch of this stuff. Eventually, Big E goes off into a singles run, and Big E can become a main eventer, or he can challenge the US title from Kevin Owens, and whoever's, Robert Roode, whoever's the title. Kofi and Woods, they can go off to their own thing in the mid-card, so that's what I do there. Additionally, the tag team division, I get a bunch of storylines going because storytelling's important in wrestling. Who'd have thought? Okay, you need storytelling. So that's what I do there with the tag team division. From here, I've got two guys who I don't know what I'd do with, but they'd be on Monday Night Raw. Elias, I just don't know. What do you do with Elias? I don't know. So I have Elias, and then I have Titus O'Neil. Titus, he's a guy I want to give a push to, but personally, I don't know exactly what you do with Titus at this point, because his gimmick's that he's a great dad. So I don't really know what to do there. Additionally, I bring the Undisputed Era to Monday Night Raw. I'd have the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Roderick Strong on Monday Night Raw. Then I'd move Humberto Carrillo, Curtis Axel, and the Lucha House Party down to NXT, or up to NXT, whatever. And then my enhancement talents on Raw, Riddick Moss, R-Truth, and Mojo Rawley. Okay, so that's Monday Night Raw. That is the landscape that I'd set up on Monday Night Raw. So, in summary for Raw, main events feel very important, okay? Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship, main events are Raw. We get Brock Lesnar versus Lashley, main eventing a Raw. Kevin Owens versus Andrade for the United States Championship, that's main eventing a Raw. I'm getting a bunch of just good stuff on that show. The New Day having their losing streak and then having the big turn. So we get the New Day stuff on this show. We get Miz and John Morrison on this show. We get a bunch of this stuff. We get Angel Garza turning babyface and becoming a fan favorite. Angel Garza versus Andrade is a big match on a Monday Night Raw. Keith Lee versus Baron Corbin is on a Raw show. Cesaro getting a bunch of big wins. Cesaro getting TV time. A bunch of this stuff. Okay, really building up these shows so the Raw feels important, feels meaningful. The 2-hour format gives you time to really tell stories through the show. So that's what I do with Monday Night Raw. As for SmackDown, okay, SmackDown Live. Obviously, I'd keep SmackDown at 2 hours, simply just the 2 hours. I'd have Eric Bischoff, obviously, as general manager, as I've said. Obviously, also, I do Talking Smack after SmackDown. So make Raw Talk and Talking Smack a thing again. Because back in 2016, 2017, that worked. So bring back Talking Smack with Renee Young. So I do that. Additionally, so as for the championships, World Championship is the WWE Championship. The secondary title is the Intercontinental Championship. The women's division is the exclusive division to SmackDown. And General Manager Eric Bischoff, obviously. So, commentary. This situation, I'd have Tom Phillips as the lead play-by-play. Look, I'm not happy about that either. I'm really not. But I'd rather Tom Phillips to Michael Cole. Michael Cole, I'm just sick and tired of. So, Tom Phillips, I don't like him. He's a robot. He's void of charisma. But obviously, you need a play-by-play. He's not named Michael Cole. So, Tom Phillips is the lead play-by-play. Corey Graves, he'll be here as well. And just like Tom Phillips, I don't like or adore Corey Graves either. But he's good at his job when he tries and he wants to be. So, Corey Graves there. And this one might surprise some of you. This one, for my extra color commentator, you guys might be thinking, what's he going to do? Byron Saxton, Jerry Lawler? No, I'm not going to do Byron Saxton or Jerry Lawler. Those guys aren't even going to be associated with my product. Neither is Michael Cole. My third commentator for SmackDown is The Big Show. You might be thinking, what? Big Show is a commentator, unsubscribed, blocked? No, okay. The Big Show, look, he's done plenty of those kickoff shows in years past, especially like 2013, 2014. Big Show was on those pre-show panels a bunch, okay? And additionally, Big Show, he's just like Samoa Joe in the fact that he's credible, he's incredibly experienced, whatever he says will have more weight, okay? I'd rather listen to Big Show add insight on these storylines and the program than bloody Byron Saxton, the great body shop man. Who cares what Byron Saxton has to say? I want to hear what Big Show has to say. Okay, he's something to offer. So, Big Show on commentary I think is a cool idea. And also, I mean, I'd rather Big Show commentating than main eventing WrestleMania 36 versus Drew McIntyre. So, that's the situation there. Tom Phillips, Corey Graves, and Big Show are our commentators on SmackDown. As for the show itself, this one, oh boy, I've got something pretty big up my sleeve for SmackDown. Okay, SmackDown, obviously, I left you guys with the cliffhanger of that Bray Wyatt, Aleister Black, Zelina Vega stable. Plenty to come on that. So basically, the main event picture on SmackDown, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, okay, who's the WWE champion. I'd have Aleister Black with Zelina Vega. They're in the main event picture. I'd have Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Edge, as well as Braun Strowman in there as well. So, this, I do two main event storylines on SmackDown. Both of these, in my opinion, are must-see. Both of these storylines, if this was what the company was producing, I'd be locked into my TV, okay? If this is what the WWE were doing, I'd be locked. So, I do the Ministry 2.0, whatever you want to call Bray Wyatt stable, I'm calling them the Ministry 2.0, because that's what they basically are. So, the Ministry 2.0 versus Roman Reigns, as well as Edge versus Seth Rollins, okay? If that doesn't interest you, I don't know what does. That is compelling, in my opinion. So, these storylines, here's what I do. The stable of Bray Wyatt is the main thing on SmackDown. It's a very eerie stable. People don't want to be around them. They make people uncomfortable. Very creepy, very sinister. Aleister Black, he's acting like Ministry Undertaker, wearing that, like, not the trench coat, but the big kind of dark, creepy attire. Okay, The Fiend looks as creepy as ever. Zelina Vega, she's following around Aleister Black, yielding the custom briefcase. Okay, the first storyline, as I mentioned, versus Roman Reigns. Let's just say they changed the big dog. So, on the first SmackDown Live, Roman Reigns comes out to open the show, and he says that this is the big dog's yard, which most of you are probably thinking, ugh, this again? You haven't changed SmackDown at all. Roman Reigns coming out and cutting a big dog promo? No. So, he says that he doesn't give a damn what these creepy dudes think, okay? He doesn't care what they want to do. He's going to take them out because he's the big dog. Then, we cut to the Titantron, and we see Zelina Vega in some dark room, okay? She's looking at pictures of Roman Reigns' kids, and she's, like, laughing sinisterly. Like, Zelina Vega's doing the acting role really well, laughing at this, creepily laughing pictures of Roman's kids. Reigns, he's in the ring, he looks pissed. He's like, ugh. The big dog's, like, really seething. Then the lights go out, okay? We hear the Fiend sounds, and then the lights come back out. Boom! Black mass. Okay? Then Wyatt hits Sister Abigail on Reigns. So Roman Reigns is laid out from the Black mass on Sister Abigail. Then Aleister Black and the Fiend carry away Roman Reigns' lifeless body out of the arena. So that's how we open the show. We open the show with basically a Ministry 1999 abduction to open SmackDown. If that won't draw in ratings, I don't know what does. So from here we cut throughout the show, after a match or after, before a match starts or something, we'll cut to Roman Reigns, okay? We see Roman Reigns, he's being taken away after a commercial break. We see Roman Reigns then in a boiler room, okay? So we see the footage of Reigns in the boiler room, then we cut to another match, then we cut back during the show again, we see Roman Reigns, he's in the boiler room now, there's smoke and candles, we cut away, then we go back to the boiler room and we see Roman Reigns, he's being, obviously there's the smoke, there's the candles, his hands are tied up, he can't do anything, okay? People are thinking, what is this? Are they going to sacrifice him? Are they going to kill him? What are they going to do to Roman Reigns? People are hooked, they need to see what's going to happen to Roman Reigns. So from here, we get some guy wearing, like, kind of druid gear, okay, performing this, like, cult ritual, as we see, at The Fiend, we see Aleister Black, Zelina Vega's there, it's this really creepy kind of ministry-like ceremony from 1999, then, after that, Roman Reigns is off TV for weeks, okay, Roman Reigns is off TV for maybe 2-3 weeks, Meanwhile, we get a video package about how Roman Reigns will never be the same, some creepy ministry-like video package, and a couple of things the next week. We get Aleister Black or Bray Wyatt in action once or twice, that kind of thing. From here, we get Roman Reigns making his big return to SmackDown, but this is different, okay? We open SmackDown, I don't know which show, maybe the first show of October or something, the last show of September. We open SmackDown like a month after SummerSlam with Roman Reigns, or this music hitting. People are like, what music is this? It's some new theme song. And Roman Reigns walks out. He's got the big gold watch. He's got a grey suit. The fans cheer. They're popping. This isn't the Roman Reigns we know. The fans are going crazy. Okay? This isn't the big dog. So the fans are cheering Roman Reigns. Reigns comes out. His hair's tied up in the man bun. He's got the sunglasses on, the big gold watch. Okay? He says that, the big dog died a few weeks back. Okay? Reigns is the new man. He's been changed. Reigns talks about how he can't remember anything that happened to him. Okay? Last thing he remembers, he was, abducted. And he was, locked up in a boiler room, and there was smoke and candles, and he hasn't remembered anything since. Okay, this all leads to us finding out that Bo Dallas, okay, this was Bo Dallas who performed the cult on him, but we don't know as Bo Dallas anymore. This is a new name, okay? This isn't Bo Dallas, it's someone else. So, Bo Dallas is given a new name. He's wearing also creepy gear. He's got this big grown out beard, a completely new attire. He's got bloodshot eyes. Bo Dallas looks creepy as hell, so now the stable is Bo Dallas, Aleister Black, Zelina Vega, and the Fiend, okay? So the stable looks terrifying. From here we get literally, like, Roman Reigns challenging Bray Wyatt for the championship, the WWE title, in the main event of, do you want to do Survivor Series, or you can do a SmackDown, okay? I think you'd have the Fiend versus Roman Reigns in the main event of SmackDown. Then I'd have Reigns take out Aleister Black, takes out Bo Dallas. Reigns is about to win the title. And then Jackson Ryker comes out of nowhere, spears the life out of Reigns, and then Bray Wyatt pins him. So Jackson Ryker joins this big stable. So you've got this ministry building. Jackson Ryker, Aleister Black, the Fiend Bray Wyatt as the leader, Zelina Vega's in there, and renewed Bo Dallas. I just think this is awesome, personally. I think this main stable, it would be interesting, it'd be creepy, it'd be exciting. You'd see the Fiend, Aleister Black is Mr. Money in the Bank. You'd be thinking to yourself, is he going to turn on him? When's the turn coming? So you always have that in the back of your mind. Jackson Ryker, Bo Dallas, these guys all fit the mold, okay? Because Bo Dallas, obviously, Bray Wyatt's brother, it makes sense. We've got Jackson Ryker, he fits the look. Aleister Black, he fits the look as well. Zelina Vega, having a bit of a different heel role for her. It all works so well, so that's what we go with there. Then, additionally, Edge vs. Seth Rollins. This whole Edge and Seth Rollins story, I would do this as like a slow build, very similar to Randy Orton and Edge from WrestleMania season, okay? I'd have the story revolve around Rollins being a modern-day Edge, okay? But never quite as good, okay? Rollins and Murphy, they'd attack Edge. Edge would take out Murphy. They do a contract signing segment. They do some promo packages. They really fill in like 2.5, 3 months of build before Survivor Series. This Edge vs. Seth Rollins at Survivor Series, that's the match we'd be building for. Plenty of build. This makes sense. Edge and Rollins, it just does. It just clicks. So that's the other main event match I do. From here, whoever you want to have go over. I'd have Rollins go over Edge, but that's just me. So that's what we have there. Then the secondary championship picture. Okay, this is the Intercontinental Championship picture. This is the secondary picture, so listen to this, okay? I deliberately chose these wrestlers for a reason. This would give you reviewers, the smarks, people who love watching great matches, this would be your dream, okay? AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, Shinsuke Nakamura, Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, Apollo Crews with MVP, Murphy, Dolph Ziggler, Chad Gable, and Sami Zayn. Yeah, I think a few of the smarks just collapsed and collectively just erupted in their pants. That is ridiculous, that talent pool for as far as in-ring work. So pretty much the feuds and storylines, I had the Intercontinental Championship vacated and a tournament get done. So we have an Intercontinental Championship tournament because Sami Zayn stripped the IC title, he just vacates it. So the 8-man tournament produces some Match of the Year contenders every week on SmackDown. This is what makes SmackDown, alongside the Ministry and Roman Reigns, Edge and Seth Rollins, this Intercontinental Championship tournament, the women's stuff with Sasha and Becky, SmackDown is must-see. SmackDown is can't-miss TV. You have to see SmackDown. Everything on SmackDown is interesting. Everything in the 2 hours is chock-a-block interesting. So the matches itself, for the tournament of the IC title, we get matches like Daniel Bryan and Rey Mysterio for 20 minutes, Chad Gable versus AJ Styles, Ricochet versus Daniel Bryan, Ricochet versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Okay, dare I say more? The amount of possibilities you can do. This Intercontinental Championship tournament produces some incredible matches. At the end of the day, though, AJ Styles wins the tournament and is crowned as the Intercontinental Champion, okay? So, AJ Styles, he wins the IC title. This would main event a SmackDown, obviously. Okay, most of these tournament matches would main event a SmackDown show. Maybe. Actually, no. I don't know. So, yeah, we have all these matches. Basically, we have AJ Styles saying that with this IC title win, he's now done it all. AJ Styles has conquered World Wrestling Entertainment, okay? Styles is doing the arrogant heel kind of thing, saying that this is just like SmackDown Live in 2016. AJ Styles dominates the blue brand. So now, 4 years later, he's the champion again. Then Daniel Bryan interrupts him. Bryan talks about how much the Intercontinental Championship means, how he grew up as a kid idolizing that title, how he's held it himself a couple of times, and he desperately wants to have that feeling back. So this leads to a Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles feud. They do have a match in the main event of SmackDown in late September, or actually no, because the tournament will go till that September. So AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan have a main event match, the Intercontinental Championship, have them go 45 minutes in the main event for the IC title, make it a 5-star classic, Bryan and Styles on SmackDown in the main event. So they do the IC title match. In the end, AJ Styles wins by cheating. From here, we get literally Daniel Bryan demanding a rematch because Styles hooked the tights and cheated. Then Styles makes Daniel Bryan run the gauntlet to earn another title match. So Daniel Bryan proceeds to beat Shinsuke Nakamura, Apollo Crews, Ziggler, all in great matches to earn an Intercontinental Championship rematch at Survivor Series, of which Daniel Bryan beats AJ Styles at Survivor Series to win the IC title. So I just think that's a sick mid-card storyline. Secondary storyline. This SmackDown would be ridiculous, dude. The Ministry versus Roman Reigns. You've got all this stuff. Edge and Rollins, AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan for the IC title feuding. You've got a bunch of this other stuff. Okay, I do a Nakamura and Sami Zayn feud. So pretty much Shinsuke Nakamura, he turns heel on Sami Zayn, telling Zayn that he doesn't have it anymore, that Zayn led him nowhere. Okay, Shinsuke telling Zayn that Zayn's half the wrestler he used to be, showing that Zayn was the Intercontinental Champion in 2014, 2015, the NXT Champion, and now he's just this out of shape, cab driver mess. Just have this personal Nakamura Zayn storyline. They can have their match, and they can do all that in the mid-card. Then, I'd have another storyline. I'd have Murphy achieving his full potential. Okay, I'd have Buddy Murphy confront Eric Bischoff on the first SmackDown, tell him that he deserves to be Intercontinental Champion. Okay, Buddy Murphy deserves to be the champion of the secondary title on SmackDown. Bischoff says that, he needs to earn the #1 contendership. He needs to compile wins. Okay, so similar to the Cesaro thing on SmackDown, I'd have Murphy do this on similar to Cesaro on Raw, I'd have Murphy do this on SmackDown. Murphy just determined to achieve his full potential. Murphy's incensed about becoming Intercontinental Champion, so we get this slow burn of Murphy winning match after match for months. It takes till literally that December Christmas special for Murphy to get his first Intercontinental Championship match. So you get this desperate heel Buddy Murphy against a babyface Daniel Bryan in a match on that SmackDown, Super SmackDown show. So I think that's pretty sick. So that's the mid-card. Additionally, you can get a bunch of storylines out of Chad Gable, and you can do stuff with Ricochet and Apollo Crews and all this. So that's what I've got for the mid-card secondary picture on SmackDown. God, it sounds good compared to what they're doing nowadays. So that's the mid-card. Then there's the women's division, which plenty of stuff to talk about here. Basically, the women's division, Asuka, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Kairi Sane, Liv Morgan, Shayna Baszler, Sasha Banks, Alexa Bliss, Lacey Evans, Mandy Rose, Naomi, Sonya Deville, Bayley, Nikki Cross, and Ember Moon. That's your women's division. So, Sasha Banks is the unified, undisputed women's champion. Right away, Eric Bischoff rules that there will be a tournament to determine a #1 contender for Sasha Banks in the title, which Becky Lynch takes great exception to. Becky Lynch is I literally beat Bayley to become the undisputed champion, and then I only lost the title because Sasha cashed in Money in the Bank. I should get a rematch. Bischoff says, no. Okay, earn your title match the right way. So Becky snaps. Becky goes into the man mode. Becky just assaults Eric Bischoff. Becky lays out Eric Bischoff, takes him out. This leads to Eric Bischoff suspending Becky Lynch for 30 days. Okay, so Eric Bischoff suspends Becky Lynch. From here, we get the women's tournament as well, the #1 contenders tournament. This is won by Bianca Belair. So Belair wins a hard-fought match over Shayna Baszler in the final. This whole time, Bayley is trying to get in the good books of Sasha Banks to get her a title shot, but this doesn't really happen. So Sasha slaps Bayley and rejects her. So Sasha Banks really getting like fanfare. Additionally, Becky Lynch has the man kind of heat going after Becky Lynch got suspended. So you've got a cool babyface Becky Lynch, a cool babyface Sasha Banks. All roads lead to them having a match. So meanwhile, in the meantime, Alexa Bliss is recruiting members of the women's division for a stable. Okay, she's making a stable, a group designed solely with the purpose of allowing her to take over the division as a whole. Alexa Bliss, obviously she has Nikki Cross already, but as the weeks go on, she recruits some more people. She recruits Ember Moon, because they're good friends in real life, they get on well, makes sense. You can bring that to TV. You can say that Alexa Bliss is going to bring Ember Moon to the promised land. Alexa Bliss brainwashes Ember Moon. You can do that kind of stuff. Additionally, Alexa Bliss recruits Sonya Deville, okay, convincing her that her career has gone nowhere without Alexa Bliss, saying that she did all the stuff with Mandy Rose, she dealt with the stuff with Otis, but now she's here to save her. So Alexa Bliss's stable has Ember Moon, Nikki Cross, Sonya Deville. Alexa Bliss is really compiling this talent over the course of like 2 to 3 months on SmackDown, so that's what we get there. Additionally, we get Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair in the main event of a SmackDown Live for the Women's Championship. We see Sasha Banks retain the Women's Championship. Then Becky Lynch comes down the Titantron, and we see Becky Lynch in her pickup truck destroying Sasha Banks' like sports car with her pickup truck, kind of like Austin did in 1998. But we do this with Becky Lynch. From here, Becky Lynch gets out of a pickup truck, storms towards the ring, beats up Sasha Banks. We get this massive brawl, a tear-apart brawl with Sasha and Becky. The crowd's going crazy to end SmackDown. That's a great way to end SmackDown, I feel. Sasha and Becky in a pull-apart brawl. It just sounds really cool, really must-see. So we get that there. Then this would lead to Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, the rematch at Survivor Series. It's an all-out classic. Give this 20, 25 minutes. Ultimately, Sasha Banks beats Becky Lynch. Sasha Banks is the one thing she couldn't do last year. She beats Becky Lynch. Okay, Sasha Banks has her big moment yet again, beating Becky. Then, right afterwards, the week after, Alexa Bliss's stable just goes after Sasha Banks. So we get, literally, Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks becoming allies to fight off the stable of Alexa Bliss. That's the main storyline of the women on SmackDown. Bayley gets involved. We get Charlotte Flair making an odd appearance because she's still the NXT Women's Champion. So that's what I do there. Speaking of NXT, I'd move Natalya, Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, Ruby Riott, and Carmella to NXT as well. So that's that. Also, one other thing, enhancement talents for SmackDown, Akira Tozawa and Shelton Benjamin. So that is what I do for Friday Night SmackDown, SmackDown Live. In summary, in a nutshell, the Ministry, Bray Wyatt's Ministry, featuring the Fiend version of himself, a creepy as hell Aleister Black, Zelina Vega, like a goth version of Zelina Vega, Jackson Riker and Bo Dallas as like a creepy bloodshot eyes preacher. Priest, whatever. I'd have that stable. They make Roman Reigns into like a badass kind of babyface wearing the big gold watches and the suits. So I turn that into a babyface Roman Reigns. Edge vs Seth Rollins. They do a big marquee storyline. AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan for the IC title, as well as a bunch of great matches in the IC title division. Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura. I do that. I do Murphy achieving his full potential. I do the women's division. Sasha Banks, stuff with Becky Lynch. Sasha Banks versus Belair for the title or Women's #1 Contenders Tournament. Alexa Bliss making a stable. Just a bunch of good stuff. Sasha Banks beating Becky at Survivor Series. So that's what I do on SmackDown. And that is what I'd do if I took over the WWE. Hopefully you've enjoyed. This video has been a marathon, but it's been a heap of fun to make. So if you've enjoyed the video, leave down below what you think. Plenty to talk about in this video. It's over an hour long. These videos are a grind to make, but they're a heap of fun for, a heap of fun for content. So hopefully you enjoyed the 300 subscriber special. If you have, be sure to like, comment, sub. You guys know the drill. See ya.